Diesel fumes burn your throat. Salt water drips onto the exposed wiring above your head. You are trapped in a fiberglass coffin, 40 feet below the ocean surface. 40 days in hell begin now. Level 1. You were just a marine diesel mechanic. You worked at the municipal dry docks. You fixed rusty commercial trawlers. You rebuilt heavy transmissions. It was an honest living. It was also a dead end. The pay barely covered your monthly rent. Then your wife got sick. The diagnosis was bad. The medical treatments were experimental. The bills were worse. They piled up on the kitchen table. The bank called every single day. They threatened foreclosure on your small home. You owed $70,000. A local loan shark bought your debt. He visited your shop one rainy afternoon. He wore a crisp silk suit in the dirty grease pit. He made you a very simple offer. Pay it back in blood, or pay it back in sweat. He knew about your hands. He knew your reputation on the docks. He knew you could keep a massive 12-cylinder marine engine running with nothing but duct tape, wire, and a prayer. You chose sweat. You packed a single duffel bag. You left in the middle of the night. Now you are here. This is your very first job. You stand in a makeshift jungle shipyard. Thick mangrove trees hide the sky from aerial view. Armed men with machetes patrol the muddy perimeter. You see the vessel. It is an LPV, a low-profile vessel. It is a crude, handmade Narco-Submarine. The hull is constructed of pure fiberglass and cheap resin. It looks like a long gray torpedo. It flexes and groans with every ocean wave. You climb down the narrow steel hatch. The space inside is a nightmare. You have 3 tons of pure cocaine stacked in the forward hold. The bricks are wrapped tightly in heavy waterproof plastic. The payload is worth $90 million on the streets. You sit in the cramped pilot chair. You run the ship on a single massive Cummins diesel engine. The exhaust is vented directly underwater. This hides your thermal heat signature from military drones. The intake valves are poorly designed by jungle engineers. They are highly prone to salt crystallization. If they clog, the engine starves for air. If the engine starves, you lose all propulsion. If you lose power, you sink to the bottom of the trench. The air inside the cabin is toxic. Carbon monoxide builds up silently every single hour. You bleed the exhaust valves manually. Your hands are constantly covered in thick grease and black soot. You wipe heavy condensation off the primitive GPS screen. You steer by dead reckoning. When the satellite signal inevitably drops, you navigate completely blind. You rely on a magnetic compass and a cheap stopwatch. You earn $50,000 for this trip. Half is paid up front in untraceable cash. Half is promised upon successful delivery. Big money starts now. You transfer the upfront cash to a secure offshore account. You call your wife on a burner phone. You tell her you got an exclusive contract on a deep-water oil rig. You lie straight to her face. You say you will be strictly out of contact for a month. You hide the truth. You hide the money in a floor safe. Level 2. The journey takes 40 grueling days. You are never alone. You share a cramped 6x6-foot metal tube with 3 heavily armed guards. They are ruthless cartel sicarios. They carry short-barreled rifles at all times. They sweat just like you do. The heat inside the hull is unbearable. It stays at a constant 100 degrees. The diesel engine roars inches behind your head. You wear foam earplugs, but your teeth still vibrate. The lead guard is named Hector. He looks terrifying. He has a jagged scar across his jawline. But one night, the engine noise drops to an idle. He pulls out a wrinkled, faded photograph. He has a photo of a little girl taped above his narrow bunk. He points to it in the dim red light. She has a rare bone disease. He is saving his entire cut for her specialized spinal surgery. The other guard is Mateo. He cleans his weapon obsessively every morning. Back in the crowded city, he feeds stray dogs. He talks endlessly about his golden retriever. He shows you blurry pictures of the dog on his cracked phone screen. They are hardened, remorseless killers. They are also undeniably human. They miss the bright sun. They miss fresh air. They share their meager rations of canned beans and stale water with you. Then the harsh reality sets in. The radar emits a sharp ping. A military Coast Guard cutter is circling 20 miles above your position. Hector stands up immediately. He racks the heavy bolt of his rifle. He stares directly at you. His orders from the cartel bosses are absolute. If the sub is intercepted and boarded, he opens the primary scuttling valves. He sinks the vessel. He sinks the expensive drugs. He sinks you. You are locked inside a tomb. You are trapped underwater with your own executioners. You hold your breath. The cutter eventually passes. The immediate danger fades, but the suffocating tension remains permanently. On day 20, you surface at midnight. You desperately need to vent the toxic air. You need to run the diesel at full capacity to charge the dead batteries. The sea is pitch black. You stare through the small digital periscope camera. A dark shape appears in the water dead ahead. It is a small wooden fishing skiff. It has no navigation lights. It is right in your direct path. The engine of the sub is far too loud. You are moving far too fast to alter course. You ram the skiff at full speed. Wood splinters violently against the reinforced fiberglass hull. You hear a sharp, terrified cry in the dark. You look at Hector. You ask to cut the engine. You ask to stop and help. Hector shakes his head slowly. He points his barrel directly at the console. He orders you to keep moving forward. Stopping means certain capture. You push the throttle forward. You feel a sickening thump against the rear rudder. An innocent fisherman drowns in your churning wake. You stare at the glowing green numbers on the compass. You accept it. You keep driving into the blackness. Level 3. You successfully make the drop off the coast. You take a fast speedboat to the shore. You fly home. You are rich. You are also permanently broken. The psychological deformation takes hold immediately. You cannot sleep. Your bed feels entirely too wide. The air in your quiet bedroom feels far too thin. You violently miss the deafening hum of the Cummins diesel. You miss the chemical smell of resin. You go to a nice restaurant with your wife. She talks happily about the house. She talks about the debts finally being paid. You do not hear a single word she says. You cannot look at the menu. You scan the exits constantly. You count the exact number of steps to the kitchen back door. You calculate the sight lines from the street windows. A clumsy waiter drops a metal tray of glasses. You dive under the table instantly. You terrify the other patrons. You humiliate your wife. Later that week, your phone rings loudly in the kitchen. You flinch violently. You drop your hot coffee mug. It shatters on the tile floor. Your heart hammers against your ribs like a piston. You think it is the cartel calling you back for another run. You think it is the federal agents kicking in your front door? Your wife asks what is wrong with you. She reaches out to gently touch your arm. You yell at her. You push her away forcefully. You lock yourself in the dark bathroom. Your personal life is completely destroyed. The money in the safe means absolutely nothing. The dark ocean is in your blood. The severe paranoia is hardwired into your brain. You are a ghost trying to live in a normal world. Level 4. The money runs out much faster than you expected. The hush money takes a cut. The border bribes take a cut. The offshore banking fees drain the accounts. You are forced to do a second run. Then you do a third. You survive 40 days in hell again and again. You know the smuggling routes perfectly now. You know the ocean currents by heart. You know exactly how to bypass the deep water Coast Guard sonar nets. But your physical body is failing fast. Your hands shake constantly. The chronic carbon monoxide exposure has severely damaged your nervous system. You drop a heavy steel wrench in the engine bay during routine maintenance. It cracks a vital cooling pipe. The regional cartel boss notices the mistake. You are summoned to the main warehouse. You fully expect a bullet to the back of the head. Instead, a kid is standing there. He is 20 years old. He has black grease packed under his fingernails. He looks hungry. He looks desperate. He looks exactly like you did 3 years ago. The boss walks over. He pats you heavily on the shoulder. He tells you to train the new kid. He tells you to show him all the engine quirks. You finally realize the brutal truth of your existence. You are not special. You are not a master captain. You are just a mechanical part. You are a cheap rubber gasket. You are a disposable oil filter. You are entirely expendable. Someone younger has appeared. He will replace you completely. You feel a brief, foolish wave of relief. You think you can finally walk away from this life? You think you can go back to your wife and try to fix things? You ask the boss for your final payout? You state clearly that you are done. Hector steps out from the deep shadows. He stands squarely blocking the warehouse door. He rests his heavy hand on his pistol grip. He does not smile. You look at the boss. The boss just stares at you with dead eyes. The realization hits you like a physical blow to the stomach. You cannot leave. You know entirely too much. You know the exact coordinates of the jungle shipyards. You know the precise locations of the offshore drop points. You know the faces and names of the sicarios. Retirement is simply not an option in this dark business. Severance is a shallow, unmarked grave in the jungle mud. You will pilot the toxic fiberglass coffin until you inevitably drown, or you will train this kid until they put a round in the back of your head. There is absolutely no way out. You look down at your constantly shaking hands. You look back at the young, naive mechanic. You are just a machine operating another machine. You transport poison in the dark so others can die in the light. That is your only function. This story is fiction, but Narco-Submarine captains are real. Drop a comment and subscribe.